Welcome back, guys. Today we're continuing our line of stories. I want to be faster because I'm bored. I really want to be faster reading. So, Connor, I'm trying to be very sensitive about your family situation. Miss Peters said, glaring at him over the frames of her glasses. Family situation. 2 words Connor had heard too many times into the last year. However, Miss Peters continued, there is certain behavior I just will not tolerate in my classroom. You're constantly falling asleep in class, you don't pay attention, not to mention you quiz and test very poorly. Your sister seems to be functioning just fine. Perhaps you could follow her example? It was a comparison that felt like a kick in the stomach every time someone made it. Indeed, Connor was not his sister by any means, and he was always punished because of it. If this continues, I will be forced to have a meeting with your mother. Do you understand? Miss Peters warned him. Yes, sir. Ma'am. I meant ma'am. Sorry. It just hadn't been his best day. Okay, then. You may have a seat. Connor slowly walked back to his seat, his hat hanging slightly lower than it had already. More than anything, he hated feeling like a failure. Alex had watched the entire conversation between her brother and their teacher. As much as her brother embarrassed her, she did feel for him as only a sister could. Alice flipped through her literature book, deciding on which story to write about. The pictures were as colorful and exciting as they had been in her grandmother's book, but seeing all the characters she had grown up reading about made her feel at home, a feeling that had recently become a rarity. If only fairy tales were real. She thought somebody could wave a wand and magically make things how they used to be. It's not the second chapter, but it's just apple sign. I'm so excited about this lesson, Alex told Connor as they walked home from school. This was something Connor was used to hearing his sister declare, and it was usually his cue to stop listening. Miss Peters made a very good point, Alex continued excitedly, speaking a mile a minute. Think about everything children miss out on when they're deprived of fairy tales. Oh, how terrible for them. Don't you feel awful for them, Connor? Are you listening to me? Yep, Connor lied. His attention was focused on an abandoned snail shell he was kicking along the sidewalk. Can you imagine childhood without knowing all those characters and places? Alice continued. It was so fortunate that Dad and Grandma made such a point of reading them to us when we were little. Very lucky, Connor nodded, although he wasn't exactly sure what he was agreeing with. Every day after school, the Bailey twins would walk home together. They lived in a charming neighborhood that was surrounded by more charming neighborhoods that was surrounded by another series of charming neighborhoods. It was a sea of suburbia, where each house was similar to the next, but uniquely different at the same time. To pass the time as they walked, Alice would tell her brother everything on her mind, all her current thoughts and concerns, a summary of everything she had learned that day, and what she planned to do as soon as they got home. As much as this daily routine annoyed Connor, he knew he was the only person in the world Alex had to talk to, so he tried his best to listen. But listening had never been Connor's forte. So, in a nutshell, Connor tried to choose the boy who cried wolf for the report, but Alex said can't, because it's the most obvious one. So he said need to have a message hidden deeper inside it, one that isn't so on the surface. Then he picked Sleeping Beauty. Then he said the moral is don't piss off your neighbors, I guess. And Alex grunted disapprovingly. Be serious, Connor. That is not a moral of Sleeping Beauty, she reprimanded. Sure it is, Connor explained. If the king and queen had just invited that crazy enchantress to their daughter's party in the first place, none of that stuff ever would have happened. If Alice agreed with his brother in the first place, none of the arguments will happen. They couldn't have stopped it from happening, said Alex. The enchantress was evil and probably would have cursed the baby princess anyway. And Sleeping Beauty is about trying to prevent the unpreventable. Her parents tried protecting her and had all the spinning wheels in the kingdom destroyed. She was so sheltered. She didn't even know what the danger was, and she still pricked her finger on the first window she ever saw. Connor thought about this possibility and shook his head. He liked his version much better. I disagree, Connor told her. I've seen how upset you get when people don't invite you to places. And you usually look like you will curse a baby too. Alice gave Connor a dirty look Miss Peace would have been proud of. While there's no such thing as a wrong interpretation, I have to say that is definitely a mystery, Alex said. Oh, I'm just saying to be careful who you ignore, Connor clarified. I always thought Sleeping Beauty is better than it coming. Oh, Alex questioned him. And I suppose you thought Hansel and Gretel had it coming too? Yes, Connor said, feeling clever. And so did the witch. How so? Alex asked. Because, Connor explained with a smirk on his face, if you're going to live in a house made of candy, don't move next door to a couple of obese kids. A lot of these red-tailed characters are missing common sense. Alex let out another disapproving grunt. Connor figured he would get at least 50 more out of her before they got home. The witch didn't live next door. She lived deep in the forest. They had to leave a trail of breadcrumbs behind so they could find their way back, remember? And the whole point of the house was to lure the kids in. They were starving, Alex reminded him. At least have all the facts straight before you criticize. In a nutshell, again, he said, if they were starving, what were they doing wasting breadcrumbs? Connor asked. Sounds like a couple of troublemakers to me. And Alex grunted again. Then a lot of questioning and answering, making Alex laughing, la 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 la, and Connor just knew that I'll secretly agree with him, and in a nutshell. No, stop in a nutshell. Connor, it's people like you who ruin fairy tales for the rest of the world, Alex said, forcing the smile on her face to fade. People make jokes about them, and suddenly the whole message is lost. In a nutshell again, 3. Something, he stopped walking, and he saw a large house, and it was very cheerful, and he said, look, it's sold. Then, this house was only one thing the Bailey family had recently lost. Come on, Alex. Connor said and kept walking. Let's go home. Waiting for us. I figured it was just, waiting for us. A year ago, just a few days before their 11th birthday, Alex and Connor's father died in a car accident on his way home to work. Miss Bailey had owned a bookstore a few streets away named Bailey Books, but all taken was a few streets for a big accident to happen. The twins and their mother had been anxiously waiting for him at the dinner table when they got the phone call telling them their father wouldn't be joining them that night or any night after that. He had never been late to dinner before, so as soon as the telephone rang, they all had known something was wrong. Well, that's all for now, but let's just read this paragraph. Alice and Connor could never forget the look on their mother's face when she answered the phone. A look that told them, without saying a word, that their lives would never be the same. They had never seen their mother cry like that. Everything had happened so fast after that. It was hard for the twins to remember what order it all happened in. And in a nutshell, they remembered. A full year had passed, and the twins still didn't understand it. People had told them it would get easier with time, but how much time were they talking about? The loss seemed to grow deeper every day without their dad. They missed him so much sometimes that they expected their sadness to swallow their bodies. They missed his smile, they missed his laugh, and they missed his stories. Whenever Alex had a particular bad day at school, the first thing she would do when she got home was jump on the bike and paddle to her dad's door. She would run through the front door to find Dad and say, "Daddy, I need to talk to you." It didn't matter if he was helping a customer or putting brand new books on shelves. Mr. Bailey would always stop what he was doing, take his daughter to the storage room at the back, and listen to what had happened. That's all to page 33. Thank you for listening to